If the video is not available for you, you'll not be precluded from speaking at the appropriate time and may listen to the meeting. During the meeting, everyone is asked to state their name each and every time they speak. Please use the raise your hand feature to let me or the host of the meeting know that you're raising your hand so you can speak. For individuals representing applicants, permittees, and violators listed in the agenda and their representatives, if you are speaking at this meeting and have a document to submit to the commission, which was not distributed in advance of the meeting with the rest of the materials, please indicate that you wish to submit the document. You'll need to hold it up to the camera so that the commissioners and all members of the public may view it. In addition, you will be required to email an electronic version of the document in PDF format, or take a photograph and email it to the Wetlands agent at email address wetlands@thompsonct.org. Marla will include it in the permanent records of the commission. If a member of the public tries to communicate outside of the citizens' comments on agenda items portion of the meeting, or any person creates an audio or video disruption, they may be manually ejected by the Zoom host from the meeting upon my request as chair. So those are the basic rules. We've run this a couple of years now, this format. Thank you, Jason, for putting the recording on. So now it's time for a roll call. Fran Morano. Charlie Obert.
Present.
Diane Chapin.
Present.
George O'Neill, chair. All right, I think we have a quorum and we can proceed with tonight's meeting. You should see, I brought up on the desktop for everyone to see the outline of tonight's meeting, as well as the materials. There are 58 slides. For those that don't have video, you can download a copy from the website in the town under the Inland Wetlands Commission. There are no alternates to appoint. The previous minutes, commissioners, have you reviewed, and are there any changes to the minutes of the Tuesday, November 8th, 2022 meeting?
I didn't see any. I reviewed them right after they came in.
Okay. Dan, any changes?
I didn't see any changes.
Right. Seeing none, do we have a motion to accept the minutes as filed?
I'll make the motion that we accept the minutes as filed.
Okay. Second?
Okay, I didn't think we seconded that, but I'll second it.
Okay, so the minutes will stand as recorded and as accepted. Let's move on to the next item. Citizens' comments on agenda items. I see we do have a few citizens. Do you have any comments on the agenda items? Okay, let us know. Okay, then. Thank you. Moving on to the next item. Old applications, there are none. New applications, WAA 22029, Gray Rawson 0 Loggy Road, Assessors Map 141, Block 17, Lot 184R. Construct a new single-family home in a 100-foot upland review area for aquatic reservoir. Stamped received at 11/16/22. Marla, would you be able to provide the commission with a overview and comment, if any, on this?
So if you go to page 10 of the Zoom documents, you'll find a locus map, and highlighted in a little blue square in the upper central portion of that map is the location of the property that's subject to this application. This application did require a review from the Natural Diversity Database, and that is supplied in the Zoom documents on page 11. The application is on hold currently, pending an approval by NDDH for the septic design. And once I get the septic design approved, I expect to be issuing a wetlands agent approval for it, because there's only work in the upland review area.
Thank you, Marla, for that summary. Commissioners, any questions?
Yeah, I have some questions. When I saw the address, I looked it up on MapGeo, and honestly was surprised that there is so much open waterfront over there. I believe this applicant it wants to build 2 houses. And it seems odd that they can shoehorn in a septic system and a well on these small lots down there at the water table. You say, I don't know, I looked at I read through all the stuff that was on the additional, what we're looking at on your page now, George, what you're
Right.
sharing on the screen. I looked at this the other day, and this Rawson has 2 applications as I read it. This is right on the water's edge.
Okay, Charlie, just to give you a little explanation, I should have put up the site plan for you, and apparently I didn't put that in the Zoom documents. For this particular application on Logie Road, that should be Logie Point Road, that should say Logie Road is, hold on a second.
Well,
Logie
that's-
Road, the
There's
septic
several
system.
applications, same.
Correct. Logie Road, the septic system is located on the opposite side of Logie Road. It's not on this lot. It's actually across the street. And the
Okay.
health department has to approve that design. So the septic system is not in the upland review area.
Okay.
It's just the house and the driveway and the well.
Did we look at this same one a few months ago, or was it one like it? Where they
There
wanted
was
to
a
keep the-
piece of property, there was a piece of property located immediately to the north of this one, where a gentleman wanted to put in a retaining wall. There's an existing cottage or home, and he wanted to put in a retaining wall as well as potentially put in a garage in the future. And there
I'm
was a
talking about
wetlands
septic
agent
system.
approval issued with condition that he had to provide an as-built drawing once the retaining wall was built.
No, I was talking about another party over there that wanted to put a septic system on the opposite side of the road. I think, did we talk about
This
this
one-
a couple months ago when it first came in, or first came up on the radar?
I don't think so.
Okay,
I don't think so. What I can do is I can send you the PDF of the plans, and you can take a look at them and get your comments back to me, because it's being held up because I don't have NDDH's approval for it, and you can give your comments to me
okay.
before I render decision.
And this is also to build a new house?
Yes,
Because
it's a
the
wetlands
other
agent
two are-
approval, no work in wetlands.
Okay.
Okay.
Would that be acceptable to you? I'll send you the plans via email. I
Yeah,
neglected to put them on
if it's
the,
outside of the 100-foot, outside of the 100-foot from the wetlands, then sure, fine. No problem.
yeah, but NDDH still has to approve. I would not issue
Agreed.
wetlands
agreed,
agent
agreed,
approval
and
for
I
a house
understood that.
without the
Agreed,
septic approved.
Agreed, and I understood that, yes.
All right. Thank you, Commissioner Obert. Any other questions from a commissioner? All right, hearing none. Let's move on to the next. So no further action at this point. This is just received, right, Marla?
That's correct.
Correct.
It's not really up for your decision at this point in
Right.
time. It's a wetlands agent
Right.
approval application.
Okay. All right, moving on to the next item. Whoops. So this is the other portion of it, I guess. WAA 22030, Gary Rawson, 0 Logie Road, Logie Point Road, Assessors Map 141, Block 17, Lot 1841. Construct a new single-family home in a 100-foot upland review area for aquatic reservoir stamp received on 11/16/22. So this is the other portion of that earlier app.
Yes, this is farther south, and it's really near the intersection of Logie Road and Logie Point Road. You can see it's highlighted in blue from the map geo, the little square box.
Right.
And on page 14 of the Zoom documents, you can see the application proposal. This one does have the septic system that is located in the front of the house. And I believe this one is getting its water from a,
Here's your diagram. Okay, Marla, we lost you. You've been paused permanently, at least it looks like. There you go. Can you hear us?
I can hear you. Can you hear me?
Now we can. Yeah, you were permanently paused there for a minute.
We
Said
lost
my
you.
internet
You were talking
connection was
about where they were
unstable.
gonna get their water from. And then we lost
Their
you.
water will be coming from across the street from Logie Road. It is not a community well yet. They don't have enough connections to it. This is also something I questioned Gary Rawson about. So the septic system on this one is on site, but the water supply is across the street.
Hmm.
And I believe Logie Road is a private road. It's not I believe it's not a town-owned road.
And this is a agent approval as well?
That's correct. That's correct, because it's located within 100 feet of the reservoir.
All right. Okay.
No action is required by the commission, and I'm waiting on the NDDH approval for the septic system.
Okay. Right. No questions, no further questions? Hearing none, let's move on to the next item. So is the application. Let me just get this squared away. So new applications, we have a WAA 22032, Megan Cleary, 175 Hill Road, Assessors Map 128, Block 14, Lot 4H. Construct a new single-family home, driveway, and septic system, parts of which are in a 100-foot upland review area, stamped received 11/23/22, issued 12/1/22, legal notice published 12/9/22, end of appeal period 12/24/22. If you could, Marla, provide us some insight on the status of this and actions required.
No action at this point is required by the commission. If you go to page 21 of the Zoom documents, I'm showing the approximate location of this property. It's a large tract of land that already has one house on it. But according to the zoning regulations in Thompson, you can have a second home on the same lot. And so if you go to page 22 of the Zoom documents, I put a flag in where the proposed second house will be, and I've put it in an aerial photograph format so you can see where the existing home is and where the red flag shows where the proposed home is going to be. Now, this property is serviced by a common driveway, a shared driveway that comes off of Hill Road and enters into this property, and then these two homes would share a driveway also. So it actually have three homes on a shared drive, but actually only two lots. It's on page 23 of the Zoom documents. You can see what the wetlands flagging was originally in the subdivision. And this lot is the lot that's identified with the blue. Can you hear me?
I can hear you. I lost my screen for a moment. So I see
Okay.
a black and white diagram with indicated blue and orange markers. Is that what you're referring to?
Yes. Yes, the blue are where the delineated wetlands, the original delineated wetlands for this subdivision. And the home that's being proposed is located to the south.
Down here somewhere,
And
right?
south being the lower port, no, farther south than that. South is down.
I know, yeah.
Where the WYB soil type is in
Got
lot
it.
9.
Yep.
Okay. So the applicant, this was supplied by J&D Civil Engineering, and the applicant had hired Margaret Washburn to review the wetlands delineation. And that can be, her comments can be seen on page 24 of the Zoom documents. And her notations regarding where the wetlands were can be seen on page 25 of the Zoom documents. The home that's being constructed has already gotten an NDDH approval for the septic design. And it looks like I didn't put in the plans on this one either, but I issued a wetlands agent approval on December 1st. The legal notice was published on the 9th. And the end of appeal period to you is on the 24th of December. So there's no action required by the commission at this time.
is the health listing. All right, then moving on to the next item. We have new applications, WAA 22033 Spicer Plus Inc. 0 Reardon Road, Assessors Map 65, Block 101, Lot 6D. Construct propane filling station in 100-foot upland review area. Stamp received on 11/23/22 under review. And could you give us an insight on this one?
Okay, so if you go down to Zoom document page 28, I've highlighted the lot. This is part of the site that was originally part of the industrial park subdivision, you know, where the mining operation is.
Right.
When we did the site walk back in March, when you first drove into the property off of Reardon Road, this property was located on the left-hand side. In fact, I think we initially parked some cars on this property or next to this property. And Spicer, originally the application came in under the name of Spicer Gas, hyphenated.
Again, Molly, your audio is being interrupted. Seems to pause at the most inopportune time.
I'm
There you go.
wondering if
There we
Yeah.
are. Go ahead,
Yes,
Charlie.
Okay.
we don't have the info again.
I'm sorry, say again, Commissioner Obert?
They want to put in a station to fill propane. Are they gonna bring in a siding from the tank cars?
No,
the-
no,
of-
this would be trucked in. So I had them clarify, it's saying my internet is becoming unstable, so I'm sorry if you lose me. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, so the entity actually is Spicer Plus Inc. And John Holstein, Jon Holstein, has been authorized by the president and manager, agent for service, as the agent to represent Spicer Plus Inc. This application is before the Planning and Zoning Commission at this time also. And the application, if you go down to page, let's see, page 40 of the Zoom documents, you will see a site plan that shows 2 propane tanks, parking areas, a stormwater management basin, a building, and a septic system. Now, initially, the application stated that they wanted to do this in 2 phases, and it was unclear to me what they wanted covered under the application. So I contacted the engineer and contacted John Holstein, and they have confirmed at this point in time, the applicant is proposing to construct the propane filling station, which are the 2 tanks that you see propane tank area, and they want to construct a driveway, stormwater basin, and the propane tank area with safety and security devices. That's what they want to initially do, install 1 tank and the security system. And then at a later time, under phase 2, they want to include an office building, a second propane tank, a septic system, a well, and a parking lot. Because the septic system is located in the upland review area, at least a portion of it, I asked them if they had Northeast District Department of Health's approval for the septic system, and they said design approval. Additionally, if you look to the northern side of this property, you'll notice that there's a conservation easement. This conservation easement was established when the industrial park was subdivided. And as a consequence, I have sent a request through Dan Malo, to the Conservation Commission, asking them for any comments that they might have regarding this proposal and its potential effect on the conservation easement area. Conservation easement area pretty much covers, it does cover all the wetlands that were on this lot, and then a little more. So the planning and zoning commission meets the same night as the conservation commission, which is December 19th. And Spicer Gas was hoping to get some kind of approval from the planning and zoning commission for the zoning permit for at least the first tank, and possibly for all of it. So the fact that I will not get the Conservation Commission's comments back before the Planning and Zoning Commission meets, the question was raised by the engineer, is there a limitation on the part of the Planning and Zoning Commission to wait until the Inland Wetlands Commission rendered its decision? Can you still hear me?
Yes, we hear you.
Okay. So I checked the subdivision, I checked the zoning regs, and I checked the statutes, and I sent an email to the engineer with a copy to Cynthia Dunn. And I wrote in, and I believe a copy of this is here, should be here on page 42 of the Zoom documents. And basically this, I wrote, this is in response to your email of December 5th, 2022, wherein you asked the question, can the P&Z Commission vote to approve this project prior to an approval by the Wetlands Department? Of this is, or is the wetlands permit necessary for a vote by the PZC? And I replied, I have reviewed the zoning statutes and the Thompson zoning regulations and can find no prohibition for the P&Z Commission to act before a decision is made on the wetlands agent approval application for Spicer Plus Inc. on 0 Reardon Road. The only restriction I could find dictating the actions of the Planning and Zoning Commission in relation to wetlands and watercourse decisions is found in the Connecticut General Statutes, section 826 parenthetical E, wherein subdivision applications containing wetlands or watercourses by Wetlands and Watercourses Commission. So the rest of the email that I sent discussed what it was that they needed to get cleared up before I could render an approval. That is the Conservation Commission. I need their input if they wish to give it. And I also needed clarification that John Holstein was in fact the agent who could apply for this permit and represent the commission. And as of today, I received a stamped certified affidavit from the president of the corporation, as well as the agent for service, Loris Chester, stating that Mr. Holstein, John Holstein, J-O-N, is authorized to act for Spicer Inc. Plus on these issues. At this time, Spicer, my communications with Mr. Holstein and Daniel Blanchette of J&D Engineering is that they want to move forward with the entire project for wetlands agent approval. In that case, then I will be waiting to hear back after the Conservation Commission meets on December 19th. And I will be waiting until I see the NDDH approval for the design of the septic system. So
Okay,
Oh,
right
thanks.
now it's under review.
Under review. All right. Thank you for that summation, Marla. Commissioner Obert or Chapin, any questions?
Negative.
Go ahead, Diane, please.
You should none. Okay. So hearing no further discussion, let's move on to the next item. And I'm a bit out of sequence here. If we've jumped to page 41, but
45,
45, right?
go to 45.
Hold on. Why can I not? All right. Applications received after agenda. None were received after the agenda.
Correct.
Okay. Permit extensions. There are no changes. All right. Violations of
Correct.
pending enforcement actions. Notice of permit violation VIOL 21036. Permit IWA 20022 Mark Bear 1227 Thompson Road, Assessors Map 116, Block 24, Lot 10, grades not as authorized in modified plan approved by the Commission on February 9th, 2021. Molly, could you provide us with a status update?
Okay, I spoke to Mr. Bear yesterday, and he's looking to hire a builder for his home. But there's also some site work that still needs to be done, and he hasn't heard or been in communication with Patrick Wall, his site contractor, since October.
Huh.
So he is looking to find a new site contractor. I noted that there are at least two pieces of equipment on this property and another piece of equipment across the street from this property, apparently that are all under the ownership or control of Patrick Wall. So I'm not sure how quickly this is going to move forward. At this point in time, Mr. Bear does not have a builder and doesn't seem to have a site contractor who can complete the work. He is in the process of trying to find a new one for both of those pieces of work.
All right, thank you for the update. So I guess we'll await further developments. Any questions by
Yes,
any
and I have
commissioner?
not heard,
Oh, sorry. Go ahead, Marla.
just one comment, George. I
Yes.
have not heard anything from the Hagers regarding any problems on their property caused by the stockpiling the stones on the Bear property, which would be used for the final stone walls or retaining walls that are needed on the property. If I hear something from the Hagers, then that they are having problems with runoff, that kind of thing, then I will look into that. Currently, there is no adverse impact that I can tell to Little Pond itself. The only potential adverse impact may be to the Hager property.
All right, thank you for that clarification. Any additional questions for Marla? Hearing none, let's move on to the next violation. Notice of violation, Rodney LeMay, Zero Aquatic Town Farm Road, Assessors Map 160, Block 11, Lot 15. Unauthorized clearing, cutting, and grading in wetlands issued by acting wetland agent 3/21/2022. Status update. What do you have on this?
So Dan and I were going to go out on the 7th of December to take a look to see what we could see. But the site visit that we had originally set up that was going to follow this site was put off due to illness of one of the participants, which we'll talk about in the next the next violation file. So we have not seen the site yet, and now the snow is on the ground. Until the snow disappears, which it might by Friday, we might be able to get out to see it before the next snowfall if the snow is gone.
Right.
So right now it's still in a pending situation.
All right, thank you very much. Any questions for Marla?
Yes, Marla, if you do get a chance to go over and look at that property, I'll go with you.
Okay, I'll take you up on your offer because sometimes Dan's not available when I'm in the office because he's only in there on Monday, Wednesdays, and Fridays.
Okay, this
So-
is, again, follow up on the, is it Wakefield Road that goes up there where somebody was dumping trash on the Boy Scout property?
Yeah, but that was way on the back side of this property and it was on the Boy Scouts, but Dan thought that the access might have been coming from Mr. LeMay's property. The problem on LeMay's property was there was a complaint that there was clearing and grading in wetlands, which has not been clearly verified with any photographs or anything. And Dan had issued the notice of violation while I was out on medical leave.
Yes.
So
And that whole area over there, I'm interested in. I'll go out with you. Both of you or singly as the opportunities.
Okay. Thank you, Marla. Thank you, Commissioner Obert. No further questions. We'll move on to the next violation. You've noticed violation VIOL 22031, Douglas and Roberta Gray, 0 New Road, Assessors Map 154, Block 3, Lot 2J, water course alternative causing flooding, issued 11/23/22. Well, could you give us a summation of this violation and recommended course of action? And I believe we had a follow-up on this matter as well from last meeting.
Yes. Just a quick note, it looks like Fran Morano is in the meeting at this point in time. I see her on the list, and as well as Mr. Gray is there, and Kevin Calabro, and I believe Deb Kennett was on before, but I don't know if she's still here or not. Yes, she's still here.
Right.
Okay, so this issue was raised at last month's meeting. And after having listened to the Zoom recording and the statements that were made by Mrs. Gray, wherein she indicated that that was their intent to do further grading on the property that would have flattened and completely removed any alternative of restoring the flow line where it was, I felt it was necessary to issue a notice of violation. I sent a copy to all commission members. So it's not on the Zoom documents, but if you go to page 50, so that you're looking at a diagram, this came from Google Earth, and it was done on June of this year. So that's what the site looked like in June of this year. What I sent to the Grays said, you are advised to cease any further grading work on the property referenced above, except to restore the water course you have previously altered on your property to prevent the flooding of neighboring properties, and attend the next regularly scheduled meeting of the Thompson and the Wetlands Commission to discuss these activities on your property. Then I gave them the contact information. And I said, if you can't attend or wish to discuss the matter with me before the next wetlands meeting, please contact me to arrange a meeting. And I also further went on to say that if they fail to comply, that this would result in a cease and desist order, which order could be filed on the permanent land records of the town of Thompson, which could encumber their deed until the violation is resolved. I did not require them to restore the site. I only said that they shouldn't do any grading work except if they chose to restore the site. Because as you recall, at the last month's meeting, you asked me to look into finding out what kinds of options may be available. And so, given that, I contacted Norm Tybo, who was the engineer who designed the septic system for Mr. Calabro. And he had told me he had an as-built drawing that showed the underdrain for the septic system. And, and I have not yet received that, but in discussions with Mr. Calabro, he agreed to have Mr. Tybo, PE, professional engineer, come out and take a look at several issues. There were 3 issues I wanted to get information from the engineer, and this meeting was set for the 7th of December, which last Wednesday. And it was canceled because Mr. Tybo came down with bronchitis and couldn't attend the meeting. What we were going to look at was, one, where is the underdrain? And I had advised Mr. Calabro that if I could have adequate proof that there was an underdrain there, I could issue a notice of violation for his underdrain. I also wanted him to be aware of the concerns and maybe come up with some suggestions for preventing that water course that's coming down the hill from the south of his property from breaching into his property. And the third issue was, were the grades, can he identify whether the grades that go down the driveway for Mr. Calabro to New Road would be adequate, whether that access way would be adequate to provide an adequate open channel to New Road. And that was what I needed to have the engineer investigate for Mr. Calabro and for resolving this issue. Because the meeting was canceled, I contacted Diane Chapin, commissioner, and we went out an hour before the original meeting was planned and took a walk around because I wanted Diane to be able to see what the lay of the land is, because it's kind of hard to tell. Now, Charlie's been out there twice. George, you saw it once very briefly from the street and up one of the driveways. And Diane had not seen it before, and Fran has never seen it, to my knowledge. And when Diane Chapin and I were out there, we noticed a heavier amount of flow in that water course that's up on the top of the hill where your little icon, where your little pen is. And we also noticed, yeah, right in there. And then we also noticed that water was draining down Mr. Calabro's driveway, reaching all the way down to New Road. But it was also draining into the rear property of the Kennetts and pooling in the back where that green area of the little, where you see the little green, vegetation right there. That area back in there was flooding. And it was actually had eroded a small kind of ditch, a rill, let's call it, a little rill, into the ditch that runs along the gray driveway. So water, some of the water goes down the driveway now, reaching all the way down to New Road. Some water does enter into the rear of the Kennett property, flooding the undeveloped rear land of the Kennett property, and ultimately some of it can make its way into the ditch line that runs along the Gray's driveway. That's correct. So right now I'm trying to set up another meeting with the engineer and Mr. Calabro to talk about getting information, getting perhaps some survey work done. One, to address the concerns that I have regarding the underdrain and the water course on the top of the hill that could breach into the Calabro property. And two, to figure out whether or not the grades are such on the Calabro property that he could have a ditch that ran all the way down his driveway. Now his driveway is, the access way is only 25 feet wide. At the time the subdivision came through, the zoning regs said that rear lots, interior lots, which Mr. Calabro's property is an interior lot, had to have a minimum width of 40 feet. This driveway only has 25 feet. And the only thing that I can think of, and I've asked Cynthia Dunn, the zoning enforcement officer, this predates her employment with the town, because it was back in I don't think it was about 2006, 2007, when the subdivision first went in, that maybe they waived the 40-foot requirement and allowed it to be 25 feet because there was a question of whether or not there was going to be a conservation easement at the front of the Arpen property. The Arpen property is where your little sticker is right now.
Yeah.
That's the Arpen property. They're building a house now. And in front of them, to the west and south, correct. To the west and south was what was potentially a vernal pool, which I've since determined is not a vernal pool, because in the last 5 or 6 years that I've monitored it, I've had no evidence that the water lasts long enough to have any successful amphibian breeding that would be required. So I'm guessing that the Calabro driveway was shrunk down to 25 feet instead of the required 40 feet in order to protect that wetland system that they didn't know if it was a vernal pool, and it was going to be a conservation easement issued to the town, but it was never transferred. If you may or may not recall that at about the time that all the conservation easements were going to get transferred in this area, was the same time that the Star Road case was going on, and the town at a town meeting rejected all of the conservation easements in this area, other than those that had been previously issued to Rocky Brook, River Junction Estates for the Rocky Brook Estates, which was the original 11-lot subdivision. And then this was now a part of 8 of those lots got sold off to ONG Industries, and the Arpens property and the Calabro property were part of that 8-lot subdivision that got purchased by Strategic Commercial Realty. So the Grays are here in the meeting, and I think the commission should be asking them what is their position at this point in time regarding whether or not they have a position. But I would like to be able to have the time to provide the Wetlands Commission with the information they asked for at the last meeting, and that will require the input from a professional engineer, which would, if Mr. Calabro has agreed to have Norm Tybo do that for him. And Mr. Calabro is on the meeting at this point in time.
All right, so thank you, Marla, for that summation and historical perspective. So just to recap a bit, because you covered a lot of ground there, you're going to have a site inspection on Wednesday. The engineer couldn't show up, so just you and one of the commissioners went out and took a look. So everything's been delayed, and unfortunately, the important information you needed to inform further recommendations is not yet available. So
Correct.
is that a fair summary? Okay, good. So I do see that you did ask that these individuals show up, and I'll ask that those participants just keep in mind that please ask to be recognized by the chair, and I'll recognize you. You make your comments, and just maintain this orderly so we don't have any people talking simultaneously. So of the individuals present, I guess Mr. Gray, Mr. and Mrs. Gray, do you have any would like to be recognized?
Hi, yes, this is Roberta Gray and Doug,
Doug Gray.
And Doug Gray, in your address and
131 New Road, Thompson.
thank you. And please proceed.
There's just several issues and questions that we have. First, I do have a lot of confusion about what in fact constitutes a water course, because the claim is in this violation notice that we received that we altered a water course by filling in the area. It also claims that we didn't pursue jurisdictional guidance on this, and we absolutely did. And the concern that we have, and we did bring these to Marla back in March, was that this water that was being directed through this conduit pipe directly to the new land that we acquired was clearly inhibiting us from doing what we wanted to do with our land, and it was cutting the parcel, and it was not our water to be managed. And we were assured that that would be addressed. And now the artesian well, this is not storm, there's a couple of different water issues out here. There's the stormwater issues that from up back that happen as just part of this property, the way it's designed. But there's the artesian well water, which is the water that flowed continually to create this ditch type, whatever you want to call it, cutting across our new property. And when we had Marla come out and Mr. Aubert come out, and were told back in August that it was not a water course, at that time, we were also told we could proceed with our plan, and we did. And we spent, as I mentioned last meeting, a couple of $1,000s to have that done. In the last meeting, Marla is claiming that she told us it was a water course, and that now we're in violation of affecting that, and we're causing the flooding. We're not causing the flooding. Mr. Calabro's artesian well is causing the flooding. And what we did was we reclaimed our new property to grade it the way we wanted to. And again, the water course is not marked on any town map. If in fact in August we were told it was a water course, I would assume that Marla would have to notify surrounding residents to say there are, regulations to take into consideration. None of that was done. So my question is what does determine a water course, and have we had soil samples done? Is this just it's a huge discrepancy, because it clearly was told to us that it was not. So as far as this water issue and being asked to absorb this water issue, whether to reopen that water course or to accept it in the existing ditch, if the residents from 119 are agreeing to, sacrifice a portion of their land, none of this makes sense to me, that we're not going back to the original source of the problem and the creator of the problem when we have other solutions to we did some research, an artesian well with 10 gallons a minute, and I have no idea what Mr. Calabro's artesian well rate is, that produces over 5 million gallons of water in a year. And that is a tremendous amount of water that it concerns me that for even if it's to push this water into the existing ditch, I don't know how that will ultimately over time, because just in the year that it was created, it did not exist prior to Mr. Calabro building his property. So it's improper displacement of this water. So the fact that we have to be burdened with this doesn't make any sense to me. And we cannot be in violation if that was not an established water course. And so this is a problem because we absolutely sought guidance. We didn't proceed and do any filling in without reaching out for that. And we do not want to be burdened with this artesian water, especially because we know it has contamination from the improper manure issues.
Right. So thank you for those comments, Ms. Gray. And I believe there are at least two questions that I'll ask our inland wetlands agent to address, as is a subject that she's expert at, would be what constitutes the water course. And I know you made some additional comments that are, enlighten and inform your concerns, which I appreciate. But maybe we can start with the first question. Marla, would you be able to address what constitutes a water course in this context?
Yes, so I think there may be some confusion between wetlands and water courses. They are not mutually exclusive, but they don't necessarily always occur at the same location. I think you need to understand the difference between the two. Wetlands are defined by soil type. Soil type, to get the characteristics, takes some period of time of waterlogging in order to get the reduction of the minerals, getting the oxygen taken out of the minerals and reduced, which creates glaciation and mottling. That, I'm sure, I'm fairly positive I said to them, I don't think it's wetlands, because there hadn't been a long enough time to develop those characteristics that I'm based upon my education and experience, and I am not a soil scientist. But that was my opinion. So that, no, I didn't believe that there were wetlands. However, water courses, under the definition MM of the regulations, states, I'm not going to read the front part, but it says intermittent water courses, which is what the argument was that this was. Intermittent water courses shall be delineated by a defined channel and bank and the occurrence of two or more of the following characteristics: evidence of scour or deposits of recent alluvium or detritus. B, the presence of standing or flowing water for a duration longer than a particular storm incident. And 3, the presence of hydrophytic vegetation. So this area, the question was there a defined channel and banks? Now, as it left the Calabro property, there was a defined channel and banks, and I have video of that. It wasn't a very deep channel, and it wasn't a very high bank, but there clearly was an area through which this water was channelized through. It was, in my opinion, not permanent all the way through, although it might be permanent as it leaves the Calabro property. I've never seen it not running with water. But when it went into Gray's property, I had seen at points in times where the water got absorbed into the ground and did not reappear until farther down the channel that's along the driveway. And that channel that borders, that's on the Gray's property, that borders the Kennett property, does have evidence of scour and deposits, and it was running for more than a duration of a storm incident. So while that flow in that channel was probably is intermittent, it has the characteristics of an intermittent water course at that location. So this is not a persistent permanent water course through its entire reach.
Right.
And I think the Grays got confused as to what constitutes a wetland, which I said I didn't think it was, and was it a water course, which I believe in the communications that Charlie Aubert and I had with Mr. Gray back in March or April of this past year, Charlie explained how we don't regulate wetland water courses or wetlands until they're created. And once they're created, they can be subject to regulation. They're man-made. The other thing I would point to is under section 3 of the regulations, the inventory of regulated areas. 3.1 talks about a map and says, you know, map delineates the general location of wetlands and watercourse boundaries. And that's the one that you see on Map Geo when you turn on the layer that says wetlands. But it's just for general purposes only. It goes on to state, in all cases, the precise location of regulated areas shall be determined by the actual character of the land, the distribution of soil types, and the location of watercourses. For initial determination, the agency may use aerial photography, remote imagery remote sensing imagery, resource mapping, soil maps, site inspection, observations, and other information in determining the location of the boundaries of wetlands and watercourses. However, the final determination will be made by a certified soil scientist.
Okay, all right.
That's what how the regs read.
Thank you. So I think you've touched on, is there more? I'm sorry, go ahead.
So I think the important thing is to understand the difference between what is a watercourse and what is a wetland.
Okay.
I use the aerial photography, and as you can see from the aerial photography from June, from Google Earth, you can see that there is a pond in front of the Calabro property. There appears to be some kind of, from the air photo interpretation, and I've been trained in this, appears to be water that's probably leaving that pond, heading towards under the driveway and going into the Gray's property, and continues on till it hits the driveway and then goes down through apparently a channel. Now, the Grays have also filled a portion of that channel located near the rear line of the Kennett property for some small distance. That would have also classed as an intermittent water course, which has now been filled also. So there's 2 locations where there now would be obstructions to flow. One would be next to the Calabro.
To be clear, this is the water, this is the source, the artesian well that you're referring to, Marla? Right here
That's
in
the
center?
pond that the artesian well and the subsurface curtain drain from the septic system discharge
this way?
into.
Is this the course that it
Yes,
follows? Just to be
correct.
clear, it goes across here, then
Correct.
down this side like this?
Correct.
All right, just
Correct.
so that for those that, I mean, you've been on the site, and as you point out, I was zoning there briefly. So this is the source of the water, and the course, the flow, it goes across and then down the side of the drive and into the storm drain system or something along the road, I guess, right?
Correct.
All right, good. Just to clarify that.
It goes under the Kennett driveway, and then there is, between the Kennett driveway and the Calabro driveway, is a cross culvert under New Road. The water discharges across the street.
Here? Is that where it goes, or does it go down here?
Next to
Further
the
down?
Kennett driveway and the Calabro driveway, right between the 2.
Over here?
No, there.
Here. That's a
You're
great,
a little delayed, right there.
right there. Okay, right here.
Not there. No, not
Yeah.
there.
Further
there.
south? Okay, anyway,
There.
just to get
That's where it
orientation.
crosses.
All right, I just wanted to get oriented on this, just so that everyone that's watching and listening has proximity and spatial relationship. All right, so that was we touched on water courses and wetlands. Now, there was another question that I think the commission, I would certainly like to hear regarding jurisdictional guidance. Maybe you could address exactly what we're in the instruction or order, what jurisdictions should be consulted, or had been, or need to be consulted.
May I observe?
Commissioner
something?
Obert, yes, you have a question?
I'm looking at the photographs of aerial photographs from Google Maps on this site. And a couple of things are occurring to me. One is that Mrs. Gray is right. There's a changing dynamic up there on the hillside, and it's hard for us to keep up with it. And we're well-educated volunteers for the most part. we're lucky to have Marla helping us and giving us the guidance that she does. Marla, the meeting that was supposed to be last week with the engineer was going to look at all the points that Mrs. Gray brought up. Is that correct? Those are all the points that we're asking for help with.
No, I wasn't going to ask them about the artesian condition and whether or not he can cap the well. That's a well driller's issue, not the engineers. The three areas that we were going to look at were the under drain for the septic system, which, by the way, doesn't always run with water, because in the summertime there was no water running out of that. I was out there, I believe it was in August, and there was no water running out of that under drain. That under drain feeds the pond at the south end of the pond. That was one issue. The second was the water course on the hill behind at the south end of the Calabro property. I'm concerned that it can breach. And Mr. Calabro has been clearing some trees, and he's had some equipment up there. And I'm very concerned that if a tree falls down across that channel, which drains into the property to the south right now, if it blocks it and prevents the water from draining in the fashion it does, that it could breach into the Calabro property and even exacerbate the problem that we're seeing now. That was the second issue. The third issue was, is there sufficient room on the driveway, on the Calabro driveway, to have an adequate sized channel to carry all the flows down to New Road without going through the Kennett property?
Which includes the artesian well. So we're looking at
Yes.
all of those issues with Mr. Tebow, and he's going to, what I would like to do, if necessary, that I'll make a motion that that this organization will cover the remaining costs. But look at that hillside, look at that whole, how it's changed because of the gravel mining, and now because of people moving in and doing things, and it's above our pay grade. It's as volunteers especially, but it's above our pay grade to solve this problem in a way that makes everybody happy. And we're close. We're close. The Grays are going to be delighted with the way that it works out, and Mr. Calabro is too. But we're also close to having a tug of war, and if we don't have the right help right now, we're stuck. So if we've got this engineer that already knows the site, I think that we need to look at all aspects of the change in hydrology as a result of the gravel mining and the subdevelopment. And yes, two of the property owners have a right now in your need to get this done. And we're looking at a little bit beyond that up at the fringe of the property. We're asking them, include all of this in the report so that the neighbors, the Grays and the Calabros and the other people that live up there can take part in helping us solve this problem.
Okay. Thank you, Commissioner Obert. Those are points I think that certainly impact the overall situation. But back to my original question, just to clarify, Ms. Gray's first question was regarding jurisdictional guidance. What exactly, what jurisdictional guidance were, just to be, if you could enumerate that?
I'm not sure I understand
Well, you
the
read off
question, but I will give you the answer.
right, which were not consulted or need to be consulted. I just want to make sure it's clear what that was, because I know Ms. Gray raised that question.
I'm not raising this question as a wetland at this point in time. However, the Grays could always have a soil scientist go out and take a look and give that opinion. But because the conditions have already been altered by the Grays' activities, the soil scientist can only react to what they're seeing at the time they go out. Right, when you met last month, let me finish my statement. When we met last month, I was very concerned about flooding of various properties. What I'm seeing now, when I went out on the 7th, I'm seeing that the rear end of the Kennett property floods up. The undeveloped portion of their property can flood up and can get discharged into the ditch that runs along the Gray's driveway. So that my concern that it would be flooding and staying in the driveway and completely icing is starting to appear as though a natural erosion is actually causing the water to go through the rear end of the Kennett property and discharging naturally on its own into that ditch, which I would
Right.
consider to be an intermittent water course.
Okay.
And that it was an intermittent water course when the Kennetts came in to expand their driveway,
Okay.
which
So,
they got an individual permit for.
right. So, but the larger question, I think, is there was a suggestion that during the in the order that there was a reference to jurisdictional guidance, so there was no issue of jurisdictional guidance. Is that I'm not looking
So
at the order
if you're
now.
saying that I told them they could fill that water course in, that I said specifically, go ahead, you can block that. No, I never told them that. I
Okay.
never said that.
No,
I
just
told them that, I'm sure I told them that I didn't know that I didn't believe that there were wetlands there.
Right.
But they kept asking about questions about, what can we do? This should be stopped. And I said, I needed to do research. And I believe there was a time when they stopped in my office and they were asking about, well, we need to have this stopped. And I said, well, go do whatever you feel you need to do. But I didn't tell them to go ahead and
Okay.
fill in a water
it.
course
Great.
and cause flooding to other people.
Thank you. So here is a question I have for Ms. Gray. What do you recommend is a solution to this situation? I mean, that seems like a larger question. I know that Commissioner Overt's offered some thoughts, but what do you, Mr. and Mrs. Gray, would like to see done?
Well, again, I definitely see this as two issues, because the artesian well issue, which runs 24/7 at quite a clip. And like I said, I don't know what the rate is, but it's a lot of water. We would like to see the proper disbursement of that water held by Mr. Calabro's, incumbent upon him to, whether it's to dig a trench on the side of his driveway, right down to the culvert, or perhaps, and to honestly, to remove the pipe that's under his driveway that's dispensing water onto someone else's property. And I just want to add here, it was not mentioned, Marla read our email in the meeting and neglected to read the part that was very, I think, relevant and important, that states the zoning regulations of section 2, article 4A, that simply says contaminated water, storm runoff shall be collected or treated to minimize impact on the surface or subsurface water supplies, and runoff shall not be directed to neighboring properties. Clearly, this water is in violation. It is being directed to someone else's property. I'm asking that, the people involved go back to the person who created this problem, and not for nothing, but like what I don't understand in the violation letter that Marla sent is she went into an explanation of that the site with, Kevin's 117 New Road, he created a pond. He cut into the upper wetlands, the review area there. He did all those violations. He put the pipe under the driveway to dispense the water onto someone else's land without a plan, without a approved plan, a permit. And her response was, Mr. Obert and I explained to you that because no wetlands or water courses were identified on your neighbor's property prior to its development, that the creation of such water course was not regulated by the Inland Wetlands Commission. So my question is, we have now, we own the 16 acres up behind Mr. Calabro's property. So if the logic would say that if we created a pond on that 16 acres, because it doesn't exist now, okay? But once we create it, then it becomes an Inland Wetlands Commission jurisdiction. So I just feel like this doesn't make any sense to me, that we're trying to follow the rules. We reached out to the town to say, what do we do about this problem? I would like to propose, just as an idea, separate and apart from this water runoff coming from Mr. Calabro's artesian well, which again, I think has nothing to do with us, because he has to correct what he did. I would like to propose that we look at the possibility with that 16 acres up in behind. There's a lot of water up there, and in the spring, it has quite a flow, that we can, look into creating some sort of a trenching. We started to do like a little swale that would direct that water, instead of having it come down into the lower properties, but direct it off toward our man-made pond. So that is a, something that we would be, able to consider. I don't know the expense of that, but that's a engineer type thing.
Okay, so
That's
thank
the
you.
engineer thing, and Mr. Tebow.
But Mr.
is-
Obert, the Chair, Commissioner Obert, would you hold for a moment? So just to clarify, your request was that you're asking that the water coming from Mr. Calabro's pond be redirected. You suggested that there's some sort of biological contamination, and I think I'm not aware of that, but I think we have to make sure that's been determined, right? Has the health department weighed in on that point, or is that just an assumption?
It's definitely a reality. He spreads manure all over his property, fresh manure, and the horse paddock is in this. So, and Cindy Dunn came out and we proposed these issues to her at least, I don't know how long ago, but we haven't heard back from her.
Okay.
So yes, it's been eyeballed.
Right. All right. So we haven't had a health individual check on it, but that's a supposition that's contaminated, right?
George?
Yep.
The health department was out there on.
Okay, I'm sorry, go ahead.
The health department was out there on the 7th
Yes.
at 2:00 when the original meeting was supposed to be held.
Right.
Just as Diane Chapin and I were leaving the site, 2 members from the NDDH were there with Cynthia Dunn.
Right.
I do not have the results of that.
Okay.
Of that meeting. She'd have to get that from Cynthia Dunn.
All right, thank you. So they'll be determined by the experts on that. So I get the point that you suggest possibly redirecting it off to the north, I guess it is on this map, or down that driveway. That seems like the ask. Thank you for clarifying that. Commissioner Obert, you had a question. Sorry, go ahead.
An observation, really. What Mrs. Gray said sounds right, but I don't want to. I'm not in a position to make a decision. Now look at that photograph again, that L-shaped property with the horse barn. Well, what would happen if the paddock was coming off the other side and into the L and it wasn't bothering the neighbors? I don't know. There's a lot of things that I look at just above that. You see the L-shaped house?
Yeah.
Okay, so you showed the L-shaped house. The top of the L, that worn out ground has a paddock. No, the other side of the house, there.
With the north side, okay, just
Yeah, and there's the horse paddock up there.
right.
You can see it. It's worn away. It's leveled off. It's an area where they've got it right adjacent to the house.
Right.
Right adjacent to the house. But the point that I'm making is, if that water is contaminated, so the Department of Health has to tell us. But, how do you stop it from being contaminated? You eliminate it. You eliminate it at the source. You filter it, for lack of a better term. But it can be done. All this stuff can be done. It's just a matter of learning how to live in this new ecosystem.
Right.
Runoff.
Thank you.
Mr.
Yep.
Chairman, this is Amy St. Ange. I have a question for the commission.
Well, the chair recognizes the first selectwoman to speak. Go ahead.
Thank you. In regard to the drain pipe that goes underneath the driveway, assuming that was installed at some point during or after the construction of the home, wouldn't the discharge of the water blatantly onto another person's property be a violation? Whether the property was vacant at the time and was not owned by the Grays, wouldn't that be in violation to just blatantly drain water onto a vacant piece of property? Please help me understand.
You pose an interesting
Help me
rhetorical
to
question, but
understand,
isn't
too.
that a question, the answer would rest with a subject matter expert. And water is going to go somewhere, isn't it? It's not going to, it just doesn't.
But
go vertical.
intentionally diverted to another person's property.
You know, it's probably a question of law.
And then additionally pooling and affecting other homes. So even though the Grays are facing this quote unquote violation because they tried to protect their property, they were only trying to protect something that shouldn't have happened to begin with.
No argument, no argument. I think that, not just correct. But again, it's people moved into a former gravel mine.
Right.
And nobody really understood that there would be an artesian well, that there
And-
would be a horse barn, that there would be XYZ. All these things happened and they're all new, a new road.
Right. And and thank you, Charlie. I think you're completely accurate. And I will go back to what the attorney weighed in on, and the attorney did say that this was more of a civil matter. But now that we've been pulled in as a town, let's do our best to try to help all the residents of this town the best that we can.
I agree.
That's
Thank
that's
you,
my 2 cents.
First Selectman. Noted your observation, but the fact remains is that there's water and we need some subject matter experts to weigh in on it. The Grays have suggested that the source redirect it down the driveway, if I understand correctly, or elsewhere. And in as much as the engineers were unable to attend or make be present, then you know, that's one issue. But if it's a there's only so much we can do within this commission to take action. I would certainly encourage the members, individuals involved, that if there's further actions they can take outside of this commission, that they certainly explore them, because some things are, you know, nature. And if there was no culvert, where would it go? I don't know, maybe go over the road. We can only speculate. And as First Selectman speculated as to what could have, would have, or might have been. So, you know, that's one observation. Any other commissioner have comments or questions for the Grays or the other individuals involved here? We've got Calabros and Kennett, if they have comments as well.
Yes, this is Kevin Calabro,
Okay.
117 New Road.
Yes, Mr. Calabro.
I just want to comment that, you know, I sent the water that way because, and then perhaps, you know, I should have, you know, talked with you guys first. I didn't know any better. I was under the impression that that was an intermittent water course already to begin with because of the vegetation that I saw growing there. I have absolutely no problem with putting the water down the side of my driveway. The only reason why I didn't go ahead and do that was because Marla wanted it to go the longest route possible, which would be across the rear of the Kennett's property and then back into the ditch. I have no problem doing that either. I mean, the whole reason why we're here is because I have an unforeseen water issue. I cannot control nature and the things that occur. But I mean, I have no problem doing that. I just, as long as it's okay with you guys, you know.
Okay. That's Mr. Calabro. Thank you for your suggestion. I think you know, maybe that's something that again, that it's you need plans and proposals, and you know, there's a process here for doing those things. Marla, as the agent in the wetlands agent, what would be if that were the case, and it sounds like that's what the Grays would, from what Ms. Gray mentioned, would be positive and could remedy the situation. What would be the next steps to achieve that?
So the engineer would have to go and shoot some grades to see whether or not they can make a channel of adequate size, that the grades are such that he can install a channel that size. This is not something you want to do seat of pants.
Yeah.
You'd want to have an engineer to weigh in on that. Also, one thing I do want to make a comment. After having been out there last Wednesday, I saw standing water still on the Grays property where the water used to run. So just because this water might be redirected down the street doesn't mean that that channel that runs along the Gray's property, along the driveway, is not an intermittent water course. The time when intermittent water courses run is in the spring of the year. So if there's going to be discharge in that channel, whether or not it comes from the Calabro pond or comes from groundwater discharge, it may still exist as an intermittent water course. So even if the Calabro's water is directed down his driveway, that's not necessarily going to relieve the Grays of any regulated area on their property. They still may have an intermittent water course that runs along the driveway between their property and the Kennett property.
Okay, thanks for clarifying that. So, I guess if you own real estate and Mother Nature and physics and do your geology work their magic, you're going to have to deal with it. But that's another question. I think if that happens or were to happen, then I guess the Grays would have to address it in whatever appropriate fashion there is, consistent with the regulations and the inland wetlands. So to recap a bit here, the Grays suggested might be acceptable to run this down the drive. So obviously we need subject matter folks like engineers to sort that out. Sounds like Mr. Calabro sounds like favorably inclined. Of course, there are constraints, and it sounds like we're on track for that. Are there other solutions here? Because absent that, I guess you could could make it a civil matter. But if it sounds like we were sort of somewhere in between a solution, we just need some more information and perhaps time. And I'm not sure about the resources needed. But is anyone else have any suggestions or comments?
Yeah, he could
Commissioner
make beer with
Obert?
all that artesian water.
You can do what?
Make beer with all that artesian well.
Oh
water.
goodness, microbreweries. Okay, well you're fermenting something there certainly. I'm not sure what, but you're on your way. All right,
Thanks.
good.
Hi, this is Deb Kennett. I'd like to be recognized.
Yes, Ms. Kemet, name and address and
Yep,
the
Deborah
commission.
Deborah Kennett, 119 New Road. I just want to go on the record that we've been quiet with all of this because waiting to see what the outcome or what the direction was that everyone was going to head in. I just want to go on the record that we're not happy about the water that's flowing in the backyard. And the drainage right now, the temporary drainage, is getting wider. And again, it's starting to dissect onto our property close down to New Road as well. It's the natural flow. So I have grave concerns if this goes on a long time, it's going to continue to spread.
Okay, thank you, Ms. Kennett, for your observations and concerns. All right, any other commissioners have comments or haven't heard from Fran, Diane? I guess not. All right, next steps. What do we do? Where do we go from here? Mahler, what do you recommend?
I'll be in touch with Kevin Calabro and Norm Tybo to arrange for another site visit so I can make sure that professional engineer Tybo understands what the concerns are and what the commission would be looking for as far as information to address this situation. And as long as Mr. Calabro is willing to foot the bill for that, currently he has an underdrain that even though I don't have the as-built drawing and the Northeast District Department of Health has no record of that underdrain, I see an underdrain discharging into the pond. I just don't know where it was installed. And I've advised Mr. Calabro to be cooperative because I would think that it would be best for him to come in for some kind of approval for that underdrain, as well as to address any other activities that he needs to do to address the drainage problems that are in and around his property.
Okay.
Excuse me for 1 minute.
Mr. Calabro, yes, you'd like to be recognized?
Yes, this is Kevin at Calabro at 117 New Road. When Marla, when Donovan was out on what was that, Wednesday on the 7th there, he apparently knew all about it and said that
Because I told him about it.
Oh, well, I don't know. He said something. His comment to me was that it was approved. So I don't know if Norm sent him something or what. But
I talked to Maureen Marcoux, the sanitarian who signed off on the discharge permit. I spoke with her and she checked the records and she said there was nothing in their files regarding the curtain drain at all. Whoever did the inspection, the girl that did the inspection, no longer works for NDDH, and she did not make notation that there was an under drain. And those under drains are required by health code to be at least 25 feet away from the septic system. So we know there's an under drain in. We don't know exactly where it is. The health department doesn't have evidence as to exactly where it is because they do not have an as-built drawing that shows it. But your engineer said he had an as-built drawing that showed where that under drain was located.
Okay.
And that's what we need to get.
oh, okay, all right.
Okay.
Donovan made it sound like he had it. So,
Mhm.
but it is. I can assure you that it is well over 25 feet away.
Mhm.
Great. Thank you, Mr. Calabro. All right, so it sounds like we have a potential solution. I think we need the, is there any more that we need to address on this point with regard to the
Yeah.
violation? It sounds as if we've going to have the inspection, get the information, and have recommendations for certainly by the next meeting, if not sooner. I wouldn't wait before the ground freezes to find a
Mhm.
remedy. So that would solve, at least address part of the problem. I think you make an interesting observation that there may be other sources to this, but we can address the immediate source, which is if you look at visually, it appears to be pretty clear cut. But it's like everything, things aren't always what they seem. All right. Okay, so that concludes this matter. Marla, you know what to do, and you'll send the appropriate correspondence and keep the commissioners informed. All right, then. Any other comments by any of the affected individuals? Okay, hearing none. We're going to move on to the other business. We're going to close out the violations. Update on proposed provisions to zoning regulations. Thank you, everyone, for being candid and helpful here. Zoning regulations update.
So the Planning and Zoning Commission closed its hearing and they are expected to render a decision on the proposed amendments to the zoning regulations at their December 19th, 2022 regular meeting.
Okay,
And that's the update for those.
thank you. Other business, proposed revisions. Is this duplicative or am I just?
No, one is zoning, one is
Yep.
subdivision. They're different.
Subdivisions. Okay, any
Okay, so
changes there?
The Planning and Zoning Commission has been holding off on the subdivision regulations, proceeding with them until the zoning regulation changes go into place, because those tend to affect, because you recall the zoning regulations, they were going to add back net buildable area, which currently doesn't exist, and that would affect how the subdivisions are done. There's also some other minor things in there. So they've held off on the subdivision regulations. And it's my understanding that the subcommittee, which basically consists of the entire Planning and Zoning Commission, still has to have one more meeting to go over any outstanding issues, as well as the appendices that Janet Blanchette developed for the commission for road construction. So in the interim, I'm still going through whatever is the last iteration of those subdivision regulations to see if I can, and I have found some errors, some of them minor, some of them major, to bring before the Planning and Zoning Commission before they finalize their subdivision regulations. And I spoke with Cynthia Dunn yesterday, and I believe it was Cynthia. No, it was Gloria. Gloria, our recording secretary, is also the recording secretary for the Planning and Zoning Commission, and she informed me that they were going to have a special meeting next month in January to start up the subdivision regulation, to finish those revisions. So by that time, they expect to have the zoning regs finalized. And then they'll work on the subdivision regulations next month.
Okay,
So
thank you
before
for the-
that comes, I'll hopefully get my comments to Tira and the commission before then.
Thank you. All right, commissioners, any questions of Marla on the updated revision subdivision regulations? All right, hearing none, let's move on to the next item. Budget. Other business.
Okay, so the town is using this service called ClearGov for doing budgeting. And it's a little complicated. We did it last year once. I have sent to you via email a printout of the expenditures for the current fiscal year, the current budget. I wanted to talk to you about what changes you might need to think about for the fiscal year 24, which would be 23 to 24. The concern that I have is that at some time in the next fiscal year, you'll probably need to find a replacement for me and should consider adjusting the budget to provide an increase in salary for my position to accommodate increased hours, as 15 hours is not likely to be enough for a new person with less experience and training to do the job adequately, nor are you likely to find someone who will do the job at only $24,000 a year. So I sent to you what the budget currently is and to think about what kind of changes you might want to make and discuss at next month's meeting. Initially, I received a notification that we're supposed to have the proposed budget in by the 9th of January. The commission meets on the 10th. And I asked Amy if, I told her the concern I had, and she said, well, that's just a target date. And of course, the commission could take a look at this and make a decision at its January 10th meeting and get the comments and the suggested budget change to the selectman's office or into the ClearGov application after the commission meets next month.
All
So
I put-
right now,
I put
it's,
up your sheet here on the display.
I don't see it screen shared.
Oh, it's not. Yeah, it must be. Can anyone else see it, Charlie or Diane?
I see FY23 budget, agenda item HC, other business.
Oh,
Yeah, that's what
interesting.
I see.
Oh, well, I guess I'm off.
I
My error.
I see that also on the copy that I downloaded off the web.
All right. Anyway, I thought I could move it into my screen. I guess I couldn't. My error. All right, then. Thank you for that update. So we'll take a look at it. It seems like we're getting our money's worth for sure, given the kind of technical expertise we have to deal with.
Oh, she's right.
One thing in talking with Dan, I was asking him, what kinds of pays there are in other parts, because he came from Windsor Locks and he's working in Woodstock now. And he suggested that CCM might have a listing of what wetlands agents are making across the state to get an idea of what kinds of hourly rates. And he thought that perhaps I should try to go through Amy to see if CCM has that kind of information that I could get to you by the next meeting. So you could have an understanding as to what the costs are, generally speaking, across the state, because different parts of the state have different costs of living. Like if you were in Fairfield County, you'd have a lot more per hour than you would say in Northeast Connecticut. There you go. You're screen sharing now.
Okay. Too many screens, and I'm used to using Zoom. I use Teams, and I just can drop it into the screen that's operative, and I don't have to go back in and out. But it's your outline, at least part of it. It's not
So
as good as it could be.
That's the current budget, and my salary is under budget because I have hours that I owe the town. And then the recording secretaries is down because we have buffered into that salary for the recording secretary, potential special meetings. So every time there's a special meeting, the recording secretary gets paid an additional stipend for that additional meeting. So that's why there's those discrepancies that you see there.
Okay. I just pulled it off. There's no graphics going forward, so we can go on. All right, so we'll consider this and could you restate when we have to turn in our make the decision on this, or is it
Next meeting,
by next meeting? Okay, so
the
we put on
10th of
that.
January.
All right, we'll have to do our lobbying to work on that. Thank you. That's the budget. Next item is on the agenda was citizens' comments on agenda items. This is the second opportunity for citizens to comment. And if you do wish to comment,
I don't think we have any citizens left.
Well, I'm a citizen. I'd
Okay.
say she's right. There's no way we're gonna be able to replace her. And the corporate knowledge, what she knows about this town, that'll be gone when
Yeah.
she.
well, I hope we find a capable successor, I guess is what our best hope could be. And we'll move on. Next item I have is agenda item J, reports, budget and expenditures.
Okay, so as we just saw on that screen for the Town of Thompson Wetlands from July 1st through December 10th, we have an available budget of 17,111.68, and we have used 37.6% of our budget.
Right, thank you very much. Any questions for our treasurer? Do we need a motion to accept the treasurer's report?
I don't think
No,
we ever
we don't.
do.
Wetlands agent report?
Okay, George, could you screen share again? Because I want you to go to page 56 of the Zoom documents,
Of course, let me just,
and I'll start with my report.
got it.
I'm
Give me a second. There it is.
I'm continuing my review with the current version that I have of the draft subdivision regulation amendments, as I've already suggested. I've also begun working on a draft for the Inland Wetlands Commission regulations amendments related to fees. That's section 18. If you go to page 56, please,
56.
of the Zoom documents.
Okay, here we are.
To do this, to try to figure out how you want to handle fees, I've been reviewing other inland wetlands and watercourse regulations across the state to find out how other towns have handled fees and the types of applications those fees apply to. Included in the Inland Wetlands Zoom meeting, which you're looking at page 56, is a list of the types of applications and the types of fees that I have found. Some other town fee schedules are base the fee on the type of activity requested, at like a single family home, multifamily home, mixed use, commercial, industrial, and may require additional base fee on the aerial extent of wetlands and watercourse alterations. Some contain a fee for a jurisdictional ruling. There are some decisions by the Inland Wetlands Commission that are not specifically identified as an application, nor is a fee paid. These include permit transfers, permit extensions, and petitioned regulation amendments. So I've been unable to find any other towns with a, quote, conceptual subdivision approval, unquote. It's my recommendation that the Inland Wetlands Commission direct me to draft revisions that remove conceptual subdivision applications from the regulations for proposed subdivisions containing wetlands and watercourses, and that an application for an individual permit or a jurisdictional permit be required as the case may be, with an added provision that no portion of the permit is transferable. The reason why the conceptual subdivision approval was put in place, I think, is because there was a time when developers would come in, they'd build the road, and then they'd sell off the lots, and a separate builder would buy the lots. And you can't transfer a piece of a permit. You just can't do that. Doesn't make any sense. So they did this conceptual, but the problem with the conceptual is then if you have a road that has a driveway, has a storm drain system with discharges and hydraulics and all that, you can't do a conceptual approval unless you actually have all the information. So why have them go through a conceptual when you're going to need to have an individual permit, and you want to have all the information up front before you say this is okay. I'm also in the process of developing an Excel spreadsheet identifying the processing costs associated with the various types of applications and petitions to propose a fee schedule that complies with Connecticut General Statutes 22A, 42A, parenthetical 3. If you look at, George, in the screen that you're sharing,
Yes.
if you take a look at types of fees, this is exactly what the statute reads. The statute says, the Inland Wetlands Commission may require a filing fee to be deposited with the agency. The amount of such fee shall be sufficient to cover the reasonable costs of reviewing and acting on applications and petitions, including but not limited to the costs of certified mailings, publication of notices and decisions, and monitoring compliance with permit conditions or agency orders. So when I was going through other towns, I found some towns actually require a fee for every post-permit inspection. They also require a fee for inspections on orders, which is kind of interesting. I don't know how they collect it. They can ask for it, but I don't see how they're going to collect it unless they put a lien on the property. So there are many different ways that fees can be approached. And sometimes they're not asked for. And so right now, what I'm trying to come up with is what those potential costs might be for the various types of applications that you have. So because of the complexity of the fee schedule and trying to cover the costs of the review and processing of applications and petitions and extensions and modifications, that's going to need a lot of discussion between the commission members. It's not, I can provide the information, but you guys are going to have to make the decision as to in what cases do you want to charge a fee? In what cases do you not want to charge a fee because you want it to move in a smooth fashion? You want to encourage compliance without having to pay, like single family, you know, people who want to do maintenance and enjoyment of residential home. If you require much of a fee, they might just go ahead and do the work and never ask. So there's a pro and a con for charging fees and the amount that you charge. It appears as though other towns have upped the ante on commercial, industrial, and mixed use and multifamily, because those are operations that tend to be more commercial in nature, as opposed to single family homes, which are more of a personal nature. So I want you to think about where you think you might want me to go. You can talk to me independently, individually, as to where your tendency is, so I can kind of focus on where you think you might want me to go. Or alternatively, we could have a special meeting, and I would suggest this to be in person rather than by Zoom, to talk about where you want to go on this. But this would have to be in January or February at the earliest.
Thank you for that recommendation. And it's interesting. Thank you for all the work you've done to try to inform us as to what the alternatives are. I can certainly appreciate, you know, from a commercial standpoint, you have revenue less expenses and you pay taxes. Personal, it's a little different, right? It's you don't necessarily work with the resources, the same level of resources for the most average person. And you know, the average homeowner just wants to improve their property maybe, and just want to make sure they're compliant. So there's a balancing act here. Minor issues. I mean, some of the things are permitted without any particular fees or any permits required. But then other things are not, right? So depends on what you're doing. Excellent. Maybe we should have a separate meeting. Maybe we can survey the commissioners to find out what the appropriate time, so we can sort of dig in and have it, you know, kick it around and try to come prepared, of course, but kick around these suggestions and costs. I mean, you know, we have a case. The issues we talked about today, some issue we talked about this evening, could very well need to have, you know, some funding available to help inform the commission further. That being said, perhaps it's not. Perhaps they're purely civil matters and it's not the jurisdiction of the commission. But thank you for that breakdown, Marla. Any comments by other commissioners? Commissioner Obert or Chapin?
The USDA is very interested in reserving and holding on to water supplies. So when you talked about other funding initiatives,
USDA.
you can overlook them.
Oh, interesting. Hey, you can't run out of water. You need it. It's something that's important. Look what they're doing
Oh,
out in
we're
the west,
running
in the
out too
southwest.
fast. We're running out too fast.
Yeah, I always look out at Auger Pond and go, could be future valuable. All right. Any more to that, Marla?
Okay, so I'm continuing on with my wetlands agent report.
Okay.
In the next month, I will be filing a records disposal request and plan to finish the disposal of the pre-1990 permit files this winter. I have some time that I owe the town that I didn't use when I went away on vacation, and I'm going to be doing some of these things in the winter time when there's no applications really coming in. Okay, on inspections and follow-up, on 73 La Porte Road, this property was inspected on December 16th in response to a building permit application for a new detached garage. I determined that a small watercourse and possible inland wetlands exists within 100 feet of the proposed garage. I told Mr. Mayo, the property owner, that a site plan with wetlands delineated by a qualified soil scientist with proposed and existing grades would have to be submitted to determine the extent of the regulated activities. I have requested a hold on the building permit application at least until a site plan is submitted for review and regulatory determination. I reviewed 8 different building permits, 61 Lakeside Drive, 437 East Thompson Road, 538 East Thompson Road, 22 LaPierre Road, 19 Fairway Drive, 30 Main Street, 164 O'Leary Road. They're all over the town, but it's only 8. Under miscellaneous, recording secretary Gloria Harvey is in the process of downloading all Zoom meeting recordings beginning in May 2020. That's when we started the Zoom meetings, onto a 64 gigabyte flash drive purchased by the Wetlands Office for maintenance of those recordings under FOIA. She has completed the 2021 and the 2022 recordings. We now have them available in the office should somebody FOIA them. The concern that I had was that over time that there may be limitations for storage of the recordings. I know that planning and zoning, I believe they put them on YouTube, but those aren't, they're downloaded into YouTube, but those aren't the recordings that came from Zoom. And I don't know what they do with the Zoom recordings, whether they're deleted or not. So in this case, the Wetlands Commission will have a permanent record, which then can, under the records retention and disposal plan, is within their control to maintain or dispose of as authorized. I've bought some office supplies, miscellaneous little stuff, $25, $65. And then I have an outstanding Stonebridge Press legal notice for the Cleary application, and that's $44.10. And that's it for my report.
Thank you. Any questions of Marla on her report? Right. We don't need to vote on that. I think we're all set. We can move on.
Nope.
Let's go on to correspondence. None?
None,
Mylars? None?
none.
Comments by commissioners? Commissioner Obert?
Yeah, Marla, I really mean it when Mr. Tebow goes up to look at that property and Hillside or anything around the former Boy Scout property, that's being taken over by Wyndham Land Trust. I would like to
Say again?
I said that former Boy Scout property on this side of the hill, on this side of the line, is being taken over by Wyndham Land Trust.
Oh,
That will
Okay.
be finalized by the end of the year, and it's the end of December, so. They were like one step away from signing it at the annual meeting, so.
mhm. I
good. It
believe some
keeps-
of those properties had timber harvest on them already. So,
Yeah, I think the
yeah.
Boy Scouts did. They had some timber harvest, like when they knew that they were going bankrupt, they sold off some of the assets.
Great. Thank you, Commissioner Obert. Commissioner Chapin, any comments?
I'm gonna retire when Marla retires.
Well, Don't do that. We need you.
I'm just putting it out there first.
Oh, goodness, you're first. Huh?
Really?
Well, we need
Hey,
successors. We need to find some
somebody-
people.
I saw two young women putting horses out on the airline trail up at East Thompson today. They keep their horses in Thompson, but they live in Massachusetts and come over and put them on a trailer to take them up to the airline track.
Well, there you go. For open space. All right, thank you.
Nice
Diane.
horses. I thought I looked
Um,
at them, Diane.
We haven't heard Commissioner Morano. Fran, are you out there? Any comments?
All set here.
Okay, I guess, all right then, I want to thank everyone for their contribution, appreciate the work to the solutions. Sounds like we have a potential solution for the matter with drainage, so hopefully they can develop and I wouldn't wait to implement a solution. We can always have special meetings if needed even. If a solution can be found, I think it'd be best for everyone involved. So otherwise, I have no further meeting comments as chair. So with that, do I have a motion for adjournment?
Move to adjourn.
Motion
Sec-
made and seconded.
Second,
All those in favor?
Aye.
aye.
All
Aye.
opposed? None. The meeting is adjourned at 8:49 p.m. on December 13th. Thank you so much, everyone. Have a great holiday. We'll see you next year. Thank you very much. And